Hello, Wise Builders. This is Dee Dee with Motivated to Soar. So, today in my devotion time, I was like, okay, God, what am I reading today? And He led me over to Isaiah 40, verses 1 through 5. And it just speaks on restoration. It speaks on comfort. It speaks on renewal. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper into this. And yeah, we're going to learn what God is saying here. And I want to hear from you guys too, because this is just my interpretation. I don't know everything, far from it. But yeah, let's dig into this together. So in verse 1, it just reads, "Comfort, comfort my people, says your God." Comfort. And we need comfort in this day and time, right? This day and time, there's so many distractions, there's so much chaos, so much calamity that is going on. But God is saying to his people, believers, comfort, comfort, comfort. You know, God really emphasizes on that, and we can take heart to that. So God's comfort is intentional. Everything he does for us, about us, through us is intentional. And he's the great example, that we need to learn to be more intentional about his word in our lifestyle. We got to be really, really intentional. This isn't a casual comfort. It is a divine reassurance that God is going to do exactly what he says he's going to do. In verse 2, it talks here about forgiveness and completion. The hard service symbolizes trials and consequences, but God proclaims that they are over. We're going to have hard trials. We're going to have some complications in life, but again, God will restore us. Think about a hard situation or a difficult situation that you went through. It didn't feel good. You was very uncomfortable, right? There was some discomfort, and it could have went on for a short period of time, or it could have went on for a long period of time. But whatever the case may be, whether it was short or long, when he came in and stepped in, it was completed. It was like, you know what? God's grace and mercy got me through it. It got me through it. I know I can attest to the many, many times that I have gone through something, whether it was short or long, when God came in like a flood and wiped it all away. It was like I just couldn't remember it. It's like, not that I couldn't remember it, but that stain was gone. It was just gone, and I just felt his reassurance. I felt his love just gripping me and letting me know that everything was going to be okay. And I'm sure that you guys can attest to that as well. Verse 3 and 4, it just speaks on preparation for God's glory. The voice in the wilderness is echoed in the New Testament, pointing to John the Baptist and ultimately to Jesus. So we know everything that happens within the Bible, he may use different characters, whether it's John the Baptist, whether it's Paul, whether it's Moses, Esther. At the end of the day, everything is going to be pointed back to Christ. When those individuals went through their trials and tribulations, and after a time when it was all over, it points us back to Christ. It points us back to Christ. Again, just thinking about life in general, how we go through things. You might be grieving the loss of a loved one during this time. I lost my mom, my grandmother, three brothers, one sister, and as I think back on that, and yes, my heart at times get heavy and I can be full of sorrow, but at the same time, I'm okay because I believe I'm going to see them again. That's the one thing about the resurrection of Christ. We are all going to be joined, and you're going to see your loved ones again. so I can receive peace through that. And it makes me be settled and have that feeling of, okay, I'm going to see my mom again. I'm going to see my grandmother again. I'm going to see my brothers, my sister. I'm going to see them again. I'm going to see them in the heavenlies, and we're going to just be rejoicing around the throne of God. And as believers, that's where our hope is. That's why we have to. I heard another YouTuber, I believe it was Crystal. She was just talking about, I have a choice. Am I going to choose to, be depressed? Am I going to choose to be grieved today? We have to make that choice. We have to make a choice if we're going to sit in depression. Are we going to have peace? Are we going to have joy? Are we going to have hope? Yes, you may have lost someone, and I don't take that lightly because I've been through it. Trust and believe, I have been through it many, many, many times. But at some point, I have to say, you know what? My hope is in Christ. My strength is in Christ. It's not in me. It's through Him. He's going to give me the strength to make it through this. I'm not going to, stay in bed all day. I have to choose to get up. And for someone who's watching this and you're grieving the loss of someone right now, I send my sincere condolences to you. I do. I truly do. I've been there. I know what that feels like. But there is hope in Christ, and you're going to be able to get up and start anew. You'll never forget them, but you will be able to start anew. You will. It's no different than, not the same, but you may have gone through the loss, gone through a divorce, and as disheartening as that can be, you will love again. The sun will shine again. A divorce does not mean your life is over. I mean, it's over between you and that individual at this current time that has been broken for whatever reason. But you will pull yourself together and you will love again. The sun will shine again if you choose to do so. So we have to make choices. Maybe you were let go from a job, terminated for the wrong reasons. You weren't treated right. You will get a new job. You will start anew. Restoration. God will restore. And a lot of times, guys, when stuff like that happens, you start out with better pay, better benefits. You have better co-workers, a better boss, a better manager. So it's just going to be better. But we have to make a choice. We really do. Verse 5, revelation for all, a revelation for all. God's glory will be revealed not just to a few, but for all to see. This speaks of the all-inclusive and the power of God's presence being undeniable and universal. Yeah, you may have gone through a struggle in front of some, but guess what? All are going to see you get up on your feet and rise again. You shall rise again. You will rise again. So, let's talk about some things we need to do. You got to speak words of comfort. Identify someone in your life who may be going through the wilderness season. Reach out with a word or a gesture of comfort. It's not just about you. You're not the only person going through some things. And a lot of times, if we can refocus and put our eyes on someone else and take it off of us and what we're going through, it makes it much easier. Prepare your heart. Reflect and journal this week on obstacles that may be in your life that need to be leveled so God can get the glory and shine more clearly. So reflect, journal some things. I love journaling. I got my journal right here to the side. I just write things out and I look at some things and I'm like, God, you have been there with me from the beginning to the end. Been with me from the beginning to the end. Seek unity in worship. Find a way to worship or serve in community. highlighting the beauty of everyone seeing God glory together. Find your local church, or if church isn't your thing, everyone doesn't go to church. They don't attend church, and that's okay. But you got to find a group of people that's that's like-minded, that can push you and elevate you, and God's glory can be revealed. There's different ways for you to receive the word and also give the word. Testify of what God has done for you. So yeah, there's different things that we can do. So I got a couple of questions here. What wilderness areas in your life needs preparation for God to move? What wilderness areas in your life need preparation for God to move? Also, in what ways have you experienced God's comfort after a difficult season? I got so many. In what ways have you experienced God's comfort after a difficult season? I always think back to the conversation I had with my brother, and then I learned of his passing 2 a.m. that morning. I talked to him around 11 o'clock a.m., and then later in the wee hours of the morning, I get a call from my nephew saying that my brother had passed. And I'm thinking, how? When? I just talked to him. What happened? And we were very, very close. He was a big guy, but he was just a big teddy bear. He was a big teddy bear. He had such a big heart. Not a perfect man, but a good man. There's a difference. Not a perfect man, but a good man. So, God was just able to shine through me, and I was able to speak, at his graveside, and was able to bring comfort to his children and to myself, as well. So God gets all the glory. He will restore us if we are open to being restored. We got to be open to being restored, and we have to surrender. Stop thinking you can take on all this stuff on your own. Your kids cutting up, the spouse is cutting up, the neighbor is cutting up, everybody cutting up, you cutting up, I'm cutting up, but we have to learn how to just surrender and give that thing to God. So Isaiah 41-5, it is more than a promise. It's a process. We talk about going through the journey, whether it's a weight loss journey, whether it's a career journey, a relationship journey. It's all a process. It is a process. So God is there to comfort us, but we got to relinquish that control. We got to surrender. We got to give it to him. So yeah, guys, I'm going to stop right here. So hopefully something I shared with you resonated with, and it brings you comfort. It brings you peace. It brings you joy. Just know that you are not at the end. You are not at the end. You're just at the beginning. The best is yet to come for you guys. So until next time, continue to grow and glow in the Lord. Take care.